We're here again. We got on Sideline Sports, we got Dave DeRocher, John Shear, Jake Malik. We're going to discuss Ja Morant and his gun, the NFL scouting combine, what surprises were there, and of course, the franchise tags which came out from the NFL today, and some contracts going on.
Free agency, it's my favorite time of year, man. I love it. You know, I can't get enough of this. This is the best time of the year for football. This is great.
So let's start out with Ja Morant. Ja Morant.
Do we have to?
We have to. I mean, we can't.
Do we have to talk about him?
We have to start with this. This guy is the young cat that's going to be the face of the NBA.
Hold on. Time out. That is Dave's word. Dave calls everybody a cat. That's not your thing. Don't you dare steal that from him. And number two,
that's the highest form of flattery.
And number two, JB, I'm disappointed you didn't mention it yet. Dave, it is Tuesday. I got to know what kind of tacos you're eating, man.
Yeah, well, I already put one down. Potato tacos today. Have you ever had a potato taco?
I have not.
I can't say I have.
Man, you East Coast guys don't know. Man,
I eat good tacos.
Potato tacos.
All right, so what's in it? Is it a regular taco with a potato shell?
Jake, this might surprise you. Potato.
Wow.
I would have never guessed.
It's like a mashed potato with a little bit of cheese and a little bit of lettuce and a corn tortilla.
All right, that's what I was curious about. Was it a potato tortilla or was it potato on the inside? Okay.
Yeah.
I like Dave, I might have to try it. All right, JB, now we can go back to Ja Morant. We can't gloss over these delicious looking tacos.
So let's start with the facts of what we know. Ja Morant in a club in Denver was waving a gun, supposedly, according to the video. And the Colorado State Police are now investigating it. There's a couple of issues. If he flew with the gun on a chartered flight from the NBA, it's against the CBA.
That's pretty illegal.
If the gun is legal or not legal, we don't know. So we can only speculate on that. But the point is, he ended up with a gun in Colorado. His home is in Memphis. I'm not sure how you do that, considering he had to be on a plane. Was it his gun? I don't know. But what does this guy do at 20-something years old, one of the best players in the league, waving a gun at a club? Dave,
and it wasn't just that. He was on his Instagram live as well, holding it by his head. It was multiple things. Yeah, I want to make mention. He did this on social media where a lot of other people that wouldn't have seen it live at the club like that, he did it on social media for everybody to see, which mind blowing.
Guys, this is nothing new. This goes back to the 80s. I would say half the cats in the locker room had a gun in their briefcase. I never understood why, other than they could, but professional athletes carrying handguns. It just so happens now. Do you need to whip it out in a nightclub when there's a million cameras nowadays? Back when we played, phones were attached to the wall. We didn't have them in our pockets. So there wasn't no one taking pictures of the foolishness that we did. But it's not to say that this is an unusual thing for professional athletes that have $100,000 chains, that have 10 grand in their pocket at any given time, would carry something like that. All the other things are just things that I think happen more often than we realize.
Okay.
And we can't exactly say, well, it's for safety. I mean, what does safety have to do with anything when you're waving it around in a club? Yeah. Don't forget that right before this happened, that players held a player-only meeting on the team right before this, led by Steven Adams. And right after the meeting, what does Ja Morant do? Oh, he leaves the meeting. The meeting was focused on not doing stupid things off of the court. And then Ja Morant goes and does something stupid off of the court. So I just don't understand how you go from a meeting about not doing dumb things and he does something.
So I want to dissect this a couple of different ways, though. I mean, we're fortunate. We work with Dave. Dave's a former player. So, from the perspective, Dave, when you were playing and you used to go out, I mean, did you feel you needed to have a gun to protect yourself? And do you think that's part of the logic behind it?
That's the gun I had, and this is small. I used to have 22-inch arms, so I felt pretty confident in myself to protect myself.
Hold on, Dave. I think your muscles might be as big as my head, and that's saying a lot because I am notorious for having a large head. So not only do I have a large head, which I'm now admitting, you have very large muscles, and that makes my head feel somehow bigger and smaller all at once.
So, to your point, JB, as I mentioned, I for the life of me, didn't realize them. Like I said, I look around the locker room and guys are, putting pistols in their locker and they carry briefcases, they're going to work. And I can assure you, going out to the club and having them in the car was, like I said, greater number than what we would anticipate was doing that. And that's back in the 80s. And so I just know that that's something that I think is still prevalent, and it's almost like a status, like it's the thing that we can do this. I can't really attest to the reasons why.
I mean, if he's saying that he had it for protection, he's a smaller guy. I could buy that.
Yeah.
I don't know if you're a Giant fan, you'll remember we had a receiver, Plaxico Burress.
JB, I was thinking about him before. The moment we were talking about athletes and guns, he was the very first person, because all I remember was Plaxico Burress shot himself, and I will never forget that. And I will say this, and then I'll stop talking about him.
But he did catch the game-winning.
Had he not shot himself, I believe the Giants would have had a chance at making another run that year or the year after, possibly. But he screwed a lot of things up doing that.
He did catch the game-winning touchdown to make sure the Patriots don't go undefeated.
No,
so
I
just
never
saying, take that away from
it changed the future potentially, and it was, it's a testament why you have to be careful.
And he did have it supposedly for protection, granted illegally, which is why he ended up, being incarcerated. Which, it's a shame, because I'm sure being a professional athlete, you could get a gun legally, especially a handgun, for protection, because there are different laws that with gun ownership, and that would probably be a reason to have one. But my next question would be, and John, I'll ask you, why, you have all these people that are hangers on when you look at these professional athletes, their crew, if you want to call them, of who's around them.
Right. Why
would you be the guy holding the gun when you have 5, 6, 7 to 10 people around you that are just around you because who you are?
I definitely think that, and we talked about this last night on the Sports Arena. It's almost like he's trying to be something that he's not. It feels like we talked about last night. He was raised in a 2-parent household. Yep. Seemed like it was a really good upbringing. Like, it wasn't anything where he was like, raised on the streets. And
he wasn't raised
didn't really
in a bad
have
neighborhood.
Money and anything like that. So
and,
it's like,
and hold on, to be fair, that doesn't mean he didn't have bad influences, but I agree with what you're saying completely. Like, on the outside looking in, it looks
him
healthy,
and his dad are
normal,
him and his dad are super close. They work out together. They go back to where his dad lives, and they they do all kinds of programs, workouts, all that stuff. You know what I mean? So
like a role model.
He's around his parents a lot. Like he doesn't seem like the type of guy that you would be like, I expect him to be out at the club, like waving his gun around and all that stuff. Like, that doesn't, he doesn't seem like that type of guy. This doesn't seem like who he is. It seems like he's trying to be somebody he's not. And it also seems like him and the Grizzlies, for whatever reason, are trying to be villains. And it seems like they'll stop at nothing to be the villains of the NBA.
Well, they're doing a good job with that.
That's what it seems like from an outsider's, because.
So you're watching Sideline Sports with Jake Malik, John Shear, Dave DeRocher, and JB Ellis, talking about the John Morant gun in the Colorado club situation.
Can I add something? Like,
no.
Let's not.
You're not. Nope, John, you're not allowed. Nope, can't do it.
That allegedly over the summer, I believe it was last year, allegedly he hit a 17-year-old and waved a gun at him when they were doing a pickup game.
Yep.
So, like, patterns are starting
to
form.
I was going to say
it's one thing after another, and it's a concern. I don't want to see him end up like Gilbert Arenas. I don't want to see him end up like Josh Gordon, whereas a player that bad things happen, he's troubled and falls through the cracks. And I hope that somebody stops him because I don't want to see John Morant do something stupid that could ruin his life.
So my question on this, though, is who's to blame in a situation like this? There's an agent, there's a player, there's people that I'm sure are surrounding him. There's the team.
One person.
One
person.
I think Dave and I are going to say the same thing, but go,
the
Dave.
guy waving the gun.
Yeah.
There's nobody's going to control. You can't put it on anybody else.
Yeah.
You can't put it on parents. You can't put it on situations. He made a decision.
I agree.
And that's and he's got to live by it. There's a bunch of former NFL players sitting in jail.
Yeah, absolutely.
Making the same poor decision. Or getting involved with selling drugs because their $2 million wasn't enough, so they need to sell a bunch of cocaine.
They needed just more. Yeah.
So Dave, let me ask you this: when you were coming up in the NFL, when you were about to go in the NFL, like what kind of program did they have to kind of tell you about the dangers of being off the field, all the temptations
of all the money
was there anything where they sat all you guys down and they're like, hey, this is what you're gonna run into in your career? How did that work?
It was a form letter that was like printed off on one of those blue things, and you smell the paper.
Yep.
But it was that. It was there was no program, guys.
What
they have in place today. And it's from all the lessons over there. Remember, 88 and 89 was a long time ago. And there's certainly been a lot of mistakes made by players, and there's been a lot of improvement by the league and the Players Association to help the guys make better decisions. But obviously, they're all just young men with a lot of money, and they're still making poor decisions. So it's one guy's fault for what happened. And it boils down to, though, JB, your question is like, okay, who is it around him? Well, that's the other choices he's making. He's surrounding himself by people that would support that, or be in that situation with him, rather than going, brother, come on, man, let's get out of here.
Yeah.
That's a great point.
That's why I agree with what Dave was saying is, at the end of the day, it's an old argument people have made, but do people kill people or do guns kill people? Right. At the end of the day, people kill people, unfortunately, right? And that's the same in this situation. Is it the people around him or the guy that's holding the gun? Well, yeah, you can make the argument that the people around him should try and stop him, and I don't disagree. If one of you three did something stupid, of course I'd try and stop you. But at the end of the day, if you make the decision, I can't stop that. And this is the same situation. Dave, I agree completely. Yeah. And I love the point that you made. I wasn't thinking it, but I agree also is that, he's surrounding himself with whoever, and obviously they're not doing anything or not doing enough to potentially stop this. And at the end of the day,
or encouraging it,
Yeah, right. And that's the problem. And then lastly, to John, a point you made before is, this is not the first time it's happened. I'm sure we all agree on this rule, but it's a standard rule. One time I can believe it's a mistake. You did something stupid. I get it. But once you do it more than once it happens twice, 3 times, 4 times, a pattern emerges. And I start to say, well, I don't really believe that this was a mistake. I hope Ja can fix this. I hope he can move past this. But I worry about him because I think he's a phenomenal athlete. But this is, this doesn't bode well. This is not a good sign by any means.
I forget which of you guys were making a point of, the Grizzlies, making a statement, wanting to be the Pistons of old, and this bad boy image, or the Raiders of old, and we've all heard the story of the Raiders. Rather than telling Matuzak not to go out drinking before the game, they actually had a representative of the Raiders follow him around, because what he would do is he'd go from bar to bar and trash bars. That's how he got jacked up for the game, and they would just pay his bill and pay for the damage, and then get him to the game. So that we've come a long way from things like that, and I can assure you, when you own a $1 billion asset, you don't want it tarnished. So I'm sure there's going to be some pretty strong actions, but like John was saying, and I wasn't aware that this has already happened once. If a guy has flashed a gun in public once, I think that's all you need to know. I mean. And why then is everybody so surprised he's done it a second time? They need to take steeper measures.
Agreed.
Yeah.
Because clearly whatever they did the first time didn't work.
Yeah.
And Plaxico made a great statement on the Carton show the other day. He said, if you can't learn anything, learn from me. Make better decisions, because you really don't want to have for him to have that label being that he's so young. He has the opportunity to be the face of the NBA. He's that great of a player.
Yeah.
I mean, this is coming from someone that's actually lived this and made that mistake.
Made that bad choice, yeah.
And it's a shame to see that, Ja is in this mindset where he thinks he needs to go out and do these things, for whatever reason, whether it's protection, he just wants to feel like he's
maybe
a big man.
Yeah, maybe it's a cry for help. Right. I don't know.
Nobody knows because we're not talking to him right now. But whatever the reason be, when Plaxico is telling you, it's because Plaxico's lived this, and he had his career cut short, cost himself how much money. He was a great receiver, if you remember before this. As Jake alluded to earlier, the Giants would have had a much, much different year had that not happened.
He was really good on the Steelers as well.
Absolutely.
Yes. So, I mean, I'm curious to see where this turns, what the NBA does, because, the NBA talks about all this, they're so involved with the, all this social outreach and everything. This is making a big issue.
The league better.
I've heard a lot of 50 games float. I've heard that floated around quite a bit lately. So that seems to be the consensus is 50 games, but who knows what the NBA is going to do? Obviously, the conduct policy is going to come into effect. So, I mean, he's not just going to get off scot-free. As we've seen, he's already been suspended, 2 games by the team, and he's, I believe, out indefinitely.
Yeah.
So,
yeah,
they're going to probably wait until all this is resolved before they actually
until they're confident that, hey, he's past this. It's kind of like the Deshaun Watson stuff where they were like, look, you are suspended until we can say we know this is being worked on, things are improving. And I really hope that's what they do. And I will say, if that's what the Grizzlies or the league or himself or, a combination of them decide to do, I would respect that. And I would appreciate that, I think, just as a fan, because
it's bigger than
it's the right way to do it.
Take it one step further. He had the gun out in public. Say the wrong person saw that and they had a gun and they feared for their safety. And they
what if a cop sees that?
Shoot,
God forbid a police officer sees that and says, okay, this is a guy that's armed and dangerous. He tells him to put the gun down. God forbid he doesn't.
Yeah, you don't want to.
John Morant is,
or not even that.
He's got much bigger issues than this legal ramifications. He could be costing himself his life unintentionally, of course, but it's unfortunate.
Listening to Burris's second statement's even more impactful. You want to see him mature as a person as his game is getting better. And I think that all comes with time and being around the right people, which is what we alluded to earlier. What I said, is it the people that are around him or his decisions? And, we all kind of agree it's his decision, but
of course, but
it's just scary to see, because
if you're around people who encourage that, it's not going to make your decisions any easier.
And I'll add a reference, basically, kind of pertaining to something like this. Remember, Michael Vick was around a lot of people that were bad influences.
As you guys were talking, John, that's it. I kept thinking that, whether or not he was involved in the dog thing, it doesn't matter. It was his place and his people, and
and he owned up to it.
Yeah, and destroyed a career. Yeah,
and then he started to surround himself with better people that were not going to encourage him to throw his life away like that. And he got a second chance, and he was very grateful. And he wanted to make amends, and I respect that. And I respect that he was trying to get away from those type of people. So we've seen instances where people can turn it around, and I hope it happens for Ja.
I hope so too.
Yeah.
I mean, he's just a phenomenal player, and he seems like an all-around very good person.
Seems like a good person.
Minus these 2 incidents.
That's what's most important is the person, not necessarily the player.
The question is, though, it happened twice. This is 2 times it was seen.
Yep.
Most times in life, when you see something, it's happened many times before it's seen. And that's what scares me.
Agreed.
There's a rule in my head. If someone's taking $5 out of the cookie jar and they finally got caught, how many times did they take $5 out of the cookie jar?
How many times before they were caught? Exactly.
And that's what scares me.
Is he a kid? Is he a kid that came from a university, or did he come out early?
He went to Murray State.
Yeah, he came from university as well.
Yeah.
So I think that's also what makes it unfortunate is, all the circumstances that could have gone right for him in his life, as looking on the outside in, really have, as John alluded to, and we were talking about, good home life. He grew up, there's no problems, no issues that we know of. He got to go to a good college. It's one of those things that, for me, and this is the last thing I'll say about it, and I know we want to move on in a sec, is it's one of those things that there's no other signs that I can point to say, oh, well, that's what it might be, and that's what it might be. So it makes me think maybe there's more to the story. Maybe there's something going on in his life that we don't know about. And I just hope, whatever it is, it's, it solves itself, or they can fix it, because, it's sad to see. There's no other way to put it.
So I will add one other thing, I guess, as well myself to this. If none of the people around him, if his parents, if the organization, if none of them can help fix this what seems to be a pattern with him, something that can fix it is if sponsors start dropping out. If your sponsors start dropping out for shoe deals and all kinds of stuff like that, you're gonna learn real quick, and that's whenever your ears really open up and you're like, oh man, like, oh, Nike or whoever, they're thinking about dropping me. That's when you're like, oh man, I maybe I should wise up. I mean, at least I would, if nobody else could get through. If your big time money sponsor wants to potentially drop you,
unfortunately, that's true.
I'm just saying.
No,
like,
you're not wrong.
Money talks.
Money talks is correct.
We're going to come back in just a second. We're going to talk about the franchise tags that were announced today and some free agency moves. We'll be right back. So we're back. Sideline Sports. Dave DeRocher, John Shear. I almost crossed your names.
Whoa, watch yourself.
JB Ellis. I don't know. Somebody's parents were going to be happy. Somebody's going to be disappointed. We'll never know.
My parents were not going to be very happy about that one. They like my last name.
I don't know what you're talking about.
So anyway, let's talk about some franchise tags that came out late this afternoon.
Sure.
Got Saquon Barkley, Josh Jacobs. Who else? We got Lamar Jackson.
Oh, Lamar's is a special one though, because Lamar didn't get a normal franchise tag. He got a non-exclusive franchise tag.
Evan Ingram got Jags.
Yep. But Lamar's is the big one that Saquon Barkley I was very excited about, and you asked me, JB, why am I wearing this Giants hat? That is part of the reason. Lamar Jackson is the big one though, because to me what this signifies is his time in Baltimore, his days are numbered. I don't think he's coming back. I think within the next, it's going to be a little while, but I don't think he can do anything until the 15th. But I would say the coming days and weeks, I don't know that Lamar Jackson's going to be a Baltimore Raven too much longer, and I certainly don't think he will be next season. I don't know what their plan is. I'm a little confused, if I'm being honest with you guys.
What about you, John? What's your thoughts on the Lamar Jackson situation?
The concerning thing, I mean, if you're the Ravens, it kind of feels like you're going to be stuck with Lamar. And I don't mean that as in he's like a bad player. I just mean clearly both sides should move on. The relationship has deteriorated to the point where, I mean, Lamar clearly, in my opinion, this is just my opinion, I feel like he could have played in the playoffs last year, but he made a business decision. I feel like if Lamar Jackson really wanted to play in that game against the Bengals, he would have been out there. But I feel like it was hey, you guys haven't taken care of me. I haven't gotten my guaranteed money. Why should I go out and play for you guys in the playoffs and risk my health whenever I'm due for my contract? And what happens if I tear my ACL? I'm not getting that guaranteed money, which you refuse to give me. So I'm making a business decision. That's what it felt like to me. It felt like the writing on the wall. So it feels like this relationship has deteriorated to the point
it's been over
where it's over. But the Ravens are running out of options because I for one, thought that the Atlanta Falcons were a perfect fit for him. And sure enough, the Atlanta Falcons, it was reported today that the Atlanta Falcons are out on him. So no,
Falcons, Panthers,
Saints are out. They're getting Derek Carr.
Saints.
Giants are out. They got Daniel Jones. The Jets were flying to meet Aaron Rodgers in California today. So it seems like that's going to be a done deal at some point. Yeah. It seems like the Ravens are out of options for where you can trade Lamar where it makes sense, where a team's gonna give up 2 first-rounders and pay $250 million guaranteed. Like, it seems like you're out of options because the ideal landing spots are no longer ideal. They're no longer there.
Yeah.
So where are you gonna go with trading Lamar where it makes sense and where you're gonna get what you want? I don't think there's anything left. So I think the Ravens and Lamar are stuck with each other, and it's going to be an ugly marriage.
I'm gonna cut you off there. Do you think that all these teams are out, or do you think it's posturing? Because
I think they're well.
I'm not going to say I'm interested, because once I say I'm interested, guess what? The price goes up.
Yeah.
But
if I'm going to play that close to my vest to keep that price down as much as possible.
Here's one thing I will say. The Saints are definitely out because they just got Derek Carr, which we'll talk about. And the Giants. The Giants were never really in it, I don't think. No. I mean, I know what you mean, John, but they're definitely out. And
these are ideal landing.
Of course,
he would have looked good with the Giants.
The Packers are probably not going to consider this at all because they've already got Jordan Love. They clearly want to move in that direction. It seems like Aaron Rodgers is out the door, so that removes the Jets, which I thought was actually a very likely landing spot. Yep. And then the Raiders, I'm going to continue to say I don't think they want anything to do with him. I think they want Jimmy G. I think Josh McDaniels wants his old guy, the guy he trusts, and I understand that. Mm-hmm. So you're kind of running out of options here. John, I agree. I'm trying to think.
I can't think of anywhere else, Shake.
I mean,
could you imagine though him at the Raiders with Devontae and
I would love that. I think that would be great.
Oh my gosh!
I don't know.
Gosh, you got
the Raiders jersey on. Let's go.
Decent old line, but that would be.
He's got a good running back behind him, which also
great running back. Yeah,
that really running game as well because that opens up Lamar's ability to run.
You know, it's a shame though when you
scared.
When you hear these talks like this whole thing, year over year, and it's the same thing, and trying to sign and then trying to get money and trying to get, I mean, how many years have we been listening to Aaron Rodgers?
Oh, I was just thinking about it
with the Packers.
I'm so sick of
it. It's like, bro, that team, you're good, but that team made you. Yeah. I mean, that he would have been good anywhere, but.
Of course,
it is. But
that was just the ideal fit for him.
And then the team, saying this or that, and what's funny is that all of this, it was mentioned by one of you that this posturing. You can't believe anything any team says, and you can't believe anything any player says, because whatever we're getting is just purely posturing, or just because they know what they're going to do, or they have a pretty good idea.
No, and I don't disagree with that.
So it's really tough for any of us to sit and figure it out. It's fun to talk about, but I just look at the talent and kind of the Raiders think is he's a fun quarterback to watch. And I just think he would just look good in black and silver, man, and be able just to be him and do his thing.
Yeah.
And some of these other teams I kind of look at like Commanders or Panthers. Or,
I'm going to throw out a team. Hold on.
Jets, wants to play for them. You could be great, and you just go into the black hole and die.
I have an interesting idea. Hold on. So I'm sitting here trying to think of teams that need quarterbacks. The Houston Texans comes to mind. No chance. They're not in a position.
They're not going
right?
to.
No, I know. So I'm saying, okay, I'm trying to think like who is in a position to win potentially now that needs a quarterback that I could see it happening. JB, that's it. That's absolutely
the Colts of the team where it would work.
They are the team to me that makes the most sense because they take a little bit of everything from the other teams we mentioned. So, Dave, we're talking about the Raiders, right? We talk about a great running back. Okay, you got that. You want a strong offensive line? They also, the Colts also have a good offensive line. Yep. He's got some decent receivers out there. He's going to have a strong defense in Indianapolis. That, to me, is probably the team that needs a quarterback and is in the position to get a guy like Lamar where it's win now, not like a team like Houston where it's we'll win in 3, 4, 5 years when we're ready, as opposed to other teams. So that to me, I think the Colts are
I still don't
probably
think
the one that make the most sense.
I still don't see the Colts turning it around and becoming a winner with them. But out of all the teams that make sense,
I think that's
what it would be.
I think that's a team that benefits from getting Lamar the most, and I do think Lamar has a chance to do well there.
So I have an idea.
Yeah.
Sometimes I feel like we should have an earpiece in our ear because sometimes behind the scenes we're really good.
Yep.
What about the Bucks?
Well, did you see what JT put in the comment?
Of course. That's why
okay. I wasn't sure if you were taking the credit because I want to give JT his credit because that was a good idea. That was a very good idea.
JT runs the show behind the scenes. He gives us the great quotes from Plaxico. He's got the Bucks idea.
Look, he deserves his credit.
To the producer.
I like the Bucks as well, though. I would agree with that.
And how come the Dolphins doesn't come up?
Don't even start me on that. I mean, I don't want Lamar. Don't start me on that. We already got to.
No, you know what?
You're really trading one guy for another guy. They're both often injured. So.
Hold on. So what I'm hearing from John is he doesn't want Lamar because he'd rather have Concussion Boy on his team, and that's totally fine. But
both guys,
I just want you to admit you'd rather.
A bit of time.
No, I just want.
And there's no point in trading for one injured guy to another.
I just want to hear you say that I would rather have Concussion Boy than Lamar Jackson. That's all. I just want to hear it.
Look, Lamar's won an MVP.
That's all I want to hear.
Tua proved he can throw the football. Lamar Jackson's never proved to me that he can throw a football.
I completely disagree, but
he doesn't have to throw it very far, John. He's got to throw it 10 yards.
He's never proved to me
the two fastest guys in the league, man. All he's got to do is be a threat, suck the backers up, dump it over their heads.
Yeah, really.
And let them go.
Never had
games. The backers can't fly out of there when you got Lamar Jackson. They've got to stay close to the line of scrimmage, man. And it's just little digs and stuff over the middle, and then let those guys run their 4-1, 4-2 40s and try and catch me, man.
Try and get them, yeah.
The thing is that I think having that threat in the backfield, which I don't see Miami having, it lets the defense go back and cover those guys a little bit more.
Yeah.
So real quick, Jake, all 6 were non-exclusive franchise tags, so anybody can make offers, and the teams will have the option to.
What are you talking about?
Barkley, Pollard.
They were. I thought they were. I thought the ones were.
No, all 6 franchise tags that were given out are not exclusive.
Okay, all right. I didn't realize that. But
so here's the question for you on this one: if you're the Buffalo Bills, the one thing that you're missing from having a complete team is a running back, and you have
Saquon.
You can get Josh Jacobs or Saquon Barkley.
There's another running back you haven't mentioned.
Or
somebody who's
or Pollard.
There's somebody else on the trade block.
He's going to say Derrick Henry.
And look, and I'm just saying for the sake of explore your options because those non-exclusives are going to be expensive when you're giving those other teams those first rounders. That's not a cheap handoff to them. So that's why I say Derrick Henry, not because I'm saying he's better or he's the right option, but it's certainly somebody else to consider. But to your point, JB, if I'm the Buffalo Bills, I don't know what I'm waiting for because what is the one thing you and I have been saying for what, 2 years now? They need a running back because that is the only thing that they miss.
Before we had Dable and we actually won games, I said if I was Buffalo, I would have thrown 2 first-round picks because they're garbage anyway because they were winning to the Giants, and I would have gotten Barkley.
Yeah.
Without a question. But now they have a choice of 4 guys. The question is, who do they want to go after?
And they can go, you know what? I'm going to throw out a sleeper pick that they could go after, and they could sign him relatively cheap and with a solid offensive line, which is what they have. He could actually be effective enough for them, which is what they need. They don't need Saquon level talent. I think because I know he's getting cut in about 8 days, or he's supposed to be, Ezekiel Elliott, because the Cowboys are very clearly leaning towards Tony Pollard. You can get him on a cheap deal, which is what the Bills are going to need because they already have enough people they got to pay. So guys like Saquon Barkley, Derrick Henry, Josh Jacobs, they're going to be expensive. Ezekiel Elliott is on the cheaper side. And what's the worst that happens? He sucks. Okay, you have 3 other running backs that I'm not impressed by already. What's the difference?
Well, the difference is I don't think I've seen Ezekiel Elliott break the line of scrimmage in a year and a half. I mean, he just falls over. He's all the guaranteed money. He's made plenty of money, and he's tired. Man, I haven't seen him literally run more than 10 yards. and he used to be a beast, and he goes down with an arm tackle now. It's a tough thing for running backs. You start getting a little bit long in the tooth, and you've made some money.
Yeah.
I've seen a lot of great running backs that it's the same thing. They're in their 8th year, 9th year, and they're just beat up, and they just don't have it in them anymore. I didn't agree with that one.
Me personally, I
let them go.
I wouldn't give up one, let alone because you're going to give up 2 first-round picks with with the tag. If you're going to trade for Barkley, you have to give up 2 first-round picks, and you're going to be paying him. So I wouldn't give up 1, let alone 2. Go back and look at, I think it's the last 10 Super Bowl winners. Look at the highest paid running back on the Super Bowl winning team. Leonard Fournette.
Like $2 or $3 million is
Leonard
like
Fournette, $2.5 million was the highest paid running back, I believe, in the last 10 years.
You saw the same thing I saw, John. You and I both saw.
Are you really going to trade 2 first-rounders and pay $15 million for a running back?
It's almost a second-round pick that you're talking about.
It doesn't matter, JB. Nobody, go back and look at the last 10 winners. Nobody pays running backs, and they win Super Bowls. The Super Bowl winners don't have to. Damian Williams was a Super Bowl winning running back. Cam Akers, like Leonard Fournette, LeGarrette Blount. You can find value running backs on free agency without overpaying.
Why do you think I just suggested?
Because you're going to strap yourself cap-wise if you spend 10 to 15. Like I was telling Mike Cartenuta this on the Sports Arena yesterday, and he's a Cowboys fan, so he had all the bias. I tried telling him tagging Tony Pollard is stupid. Nobody is fighting Dallas to go and pay Tony Pollard top 5 money. If you let him walk, nobody's paying him top 5 money, which is what they're going to do with the franchise tag. Nobody should be paid. I like Tony Pollard. Don't get me wrong. I like him. But I'm not paying him top 5 running back money. That's absolutely stupid.
I wouldn't.
When Dallas is really good at finding running backs, kind of like the Steelers are with linebackers and receivers, Dallas is really good at finding value running backs in the draft. There's a lot of really, really good running backs in the draft this year.
And
second, third, fourth round, you can find a lot of really good running backs. Dallas can do that this year. But now right now, Dave, Dallas has $26 million tied to the running back room. Just as of right now, before they cut Zeke, 16 on Zeke and 10 on Pollard.
Yeah,
do you really want to?
telling you.
Do you want to tie $26 million to your running back room?
No.
I mean, you're going to cut Zeke, but
if you cut Zeke,
I get what
you
mean.
Still owe dead cap.
Of course.
And then you're still going to pay Tony Pollard $10+ million
so,
top 5 running. It makes absolutely no sense what Dallas is doing to it. It makes no sense.
Let me throw out somebody else because I for whatever reason didn't think to look at the free agent running backs. There's 2 guys that stand out to me that are currently free agents that I think one of them is going to ironically be more expensive, and it's not who you would have thought probably. Jamal Williams and Kareem Hunt are both free agent running backs, and Jamal Williams just had a very strong year, and Kareem Hunt is a versatile back. I think Jamal Williams would certainly be the more expensive option strictly because of his season he just had. Kareem Hunt, you could probably get pretty cheap because of his season.
$4.5 million, I would say.
But I don't know why I didn't think of Kareem Hunt specifically because we talked about him being traded to the Bills. This is a conversation we have discussed at length. And I think he would work well with Josh Allen in the fact that Josh Allen can use him as a running back, but also he can use him as checkdowns.
Yeah, coming out of the back.
He's really good at that. And that's where he specializes.
Once he gets out of trouble.
Yeah, well, let's hope. Between him and Singletary is not a bad running back. He's just not – he's not your number one guy kind of talent.
Yeah, you're not going to help. It's not going to help.
He's a good complementary back. That's what he is. So in that system, Kareem Hunt, Devin Singletary, I could see that. That to me could make sense. You're not going to be able to make Singletary workhorse, but you don't need to Kareem Hunt, do workhorse either. I think that I hadn't thought about it before. I think that might be an option. Hopefully they would explore.
They have to fix their offense because Josh Allen is not the guy who should have the most yards rushing every year. Right. He should not be leading your team in rushing. He is what keeps your team in games. And you don't want him running out there with the chance of getting hurt.
And the thing is, in short yardage, that he's the only one they go to. Yeah. They can't trust a running back to get freaking 2 yards.
Yeah.
So I mean that's not a good position to be in.
No.
If you can't trust one of your running backs to get 2 or 3 yards when you need it, you're trusting your beast quarterback, but man, that's not a.
It's not sustainable. That's how he
Yes.
gets. That's how he gets worn down, and then
not a recipe for longevity.
And then you're in trouble. But and the other thing, I just want to comment on Josh Allen, which is why I think the running back is so important. He plays hero ball all the time. If you watch him, he puts everything on his shoulders, and I get it. He's the quarterback, and I know that's part of the mentality probably. But you got to get a guy that can take the workload off him a little bit. Give
everything
him
has to be
option.
a home run with him.
Yeah, and that's why, JB, we've been talking about the running back being so important, but we haven't seen Josh Allen play like he did until this season, where he really forced it downfield and was just always going for the big yardage play. They now more than ever need that running back to say, hey, we're in a tight game. Give it to whoever, because we can trust him to get a couple of yards and wear down the defense, because otherwise Josh Allen's going to have more trouble with that elbow and just general injuries because he's running so often.
It's a big piece of the foundation that they need to figure out. And, it's been year after year. It's, we're going to segment into the free agents that were signed and
Combine.
The combine in just a second. But that, when you look at Buffalo with their situation, I kind of look at the Giants with what we did. So the Giants went out and signed Daniel Jones to a 4-year, $160 million contract. And with that,
I don't know if they're done, but
it's over. The Giants are cooked.
John, all I'll say is at least our quarterback will be on the field for the next few seasons.
Dude, come on,
yours might have to go to a retirement home because of his concussion issues.
I guarantee you are praying as much as you can, like, please don't sign him to a long-term.
No, that's not.
And it came down and you were probably
hold on. Time out. To address your comment, John, that is not what I was thinking. What I was thinking was, don't overpay. What did the Giants do? They overpaid. That's what I was hoping they wouldn't do. I didn't mind signing them for 4 years, honestly. I could live with that because, JB, I think you made a comment in a group chat today saying, like, this to me signifies, and I agree, so I'm taking your point and saying totally agree with this, is that this signifies the Giants are looking long-term, not only with Daniel Jones, but Brian Daboll and the way that things are set up right now. So I love that mentality of, look, this is not a one and done. But there are two concerns, and they lie with Daniel Jones and Brian Daboll. Number one, I don't know if Daniel Jones can repeat what he did last season. We'll find out. And number two, I hate to bring it up, but Ben McAdoo in his first season as Giants head coach looked fantastic. Now, I'm not saying Brian Daboll is the same, but I have those reservations that I worry that this could really backfire, where we suck or we could be really good for the next 4 seasons, and we could look like this was a genius move, and there's no way of knowing yet. And I'm just keeping my fingers crossed. That's all. That's all I'm doing.
The way I look at it, though, $40 million for Daniel Jones. I know $10 million is a lot, but you could have went $10 million more and got Lamar Jackson.
I don't disagree.
It's night and day. It brings your offense to that much more explosiveness. Take a chance. I get the Giant franchise is very loyal. It's the way that they've always done business. And
unfortunately,
I shouldn't expect anything different. But
to a fault, we are that way.
I wanted Lamar when they Patriots made the trade with the Ravens. We were 2 picks away. The Giants would have had to have taken him. We never know what would have happened if Bill Belichick didn't mess us up there. But here was our chance to go out and get him. Yes, he's older. He's got something going on with the knee now. But is he better than Daniel Jones? Yes. Is a $10 million difference worth it? Without a doubt.
When you're paying that much money, yeah.
Without a doubt in my mind, yes. But, we're stuck with Daniel Jones. I don't know what the long-term answer is, because I don't see them winning a Super Bowl with Daniel Jones. And it really comes down to, are we winning a Super Bowl or what are we doing? That's all I care about.
So I wanted to read this Dan Orlovsky quote because this summed it up. Like, I think what all of us that don't believe in Daniel Jones, and I'll quote him. He says, Daniel Jones is going to get 40+ million. Listen, I don't want to kill Daniel Jones. He earned his money last year. He played better. 7 months ago, Daniel Jones went into this season with 50 touchdowns and 49 turnovers. Now we're talking about paying him $300,000 a month less than Patrick Mahomes. That's mind-boggling to me. Like, he's 100% right. Basically, the reason he's getting his money is because he didn't turn the football.
Well, hold on. So to the Patrick Mahomes part of that comment, it's a little misleading, and the reason for that is Patrick Mahomes is making $500 million, but it's over a pretty lengthy period of time. So that length of time is why the AAV is a little bit lower than it might look. With that said, I don't disagree. I think this is ludicrous. I love the Giants, and that's JB. You asked me before the show, why am I wearing the hat? To finally answer your question, I'm doing it because I love this team no matter what they do to a fault. It is the same thing the Giants are. We're loyal. Whether it kills us is out of the question here. But to a fault, I will always be loyal to this team, and I love them. But I'm very disappointed. I think Daniel Jones should have been hovering around the $35 million a year. Maybe. I think that's probably more appropriate. But I will say, and this is the last part, is the quarterback market is completely screwed up because guys like Dak are making $40 million a year, and Daniel Jones has, I think, the same amount of playoff wins, if not, I think maybe one less. They have basically the same amount of playoff wins though, and Daniel Jones did it in one run, if you will. So him making this much money is unfortunately surprising, but not surprising for those for that logical reason.
But now you can see why these teams with the rookie deals for quarterbacks, when they draft a good quarterback, can go out and win a Super Bowl or go deep into the playoffs year after year until that deal ends. Because
Patrick Mahomes is an example. He won his rookie contract, I believe, right?
You know, look at what Cincinnati's doing with Burrow and his rookie contract. You know, the Chargers, granted they're not having as much success, but part of that's coaching.
Yeah.
You know,
I was going to say, coaching could be a little better.
You know, so when you look at the difference, the league's got to figure out something with that because it doesn't make sense that, you have a guy like Aaron Rodgers, as much as I dislike him, he is by far one of the most talented quarterbacks in the league. Yep. You know, I'm not going to take away credit from his talent. He is what he is. But the Packers are paying him all that money. They can't put a team around him. That's a huge problem.
That's one thing I've always respected about Tom Brady, whether I liked him or not. Anybody that knows anything about his contracts, he always took less money on purpose so he could make sure that Bill and the rest of the team could say, go give me the guys I need to make this squad win. And I've always respected and appreciated that. And I don't know that there will ever be a quarterback as humble and incredibly talented as Tom Brady in that regard.
But think about it. Do you want to give up money so your team can win? That's a tough decision. I want to win all day.
But JB, it's what made him great.
I'm not
so look, Aaron Rodgers is probably a better quarterback, but he's sucking up so much money as no one can get the ball to, so he loses.
Right.
You know what?
So Brady, right, in his brilliance, gave up money, and is what made him great because they were able to surround him with so much talent.
And to answer that question very quickly, JB, yes, and there's one reason, actually two. A, at that point, I'm making millions of dollars. I think I'll be okay. And with how much winning I would do, I'd make plenty anyway with endorsements and such. But B, more importantly, my legacy would be a lot better, most likely, because I'd be able to win more with better teams. I would rather be able to go down with, 4 or 5 championships maybe versus Aaron Rodgers, who's got all this money. He's got one. That's it.
I'm going to have to play devil's advocate for 2 reasons. One, it's not just Brady that loses money when he takes less money. His agent, his manager, whoever else is involved with it.
Oh, boo-hoo.
So that's part of
really, boo-hoo. I think his agent, his manager are making plenty of money.
They get less money for representing the best player in the league.
Really. I think they'll be okay. I think they can sleep on a bed of money every day.
I think the Drew Rosenhouses of the world, I think they'll be okay.
I think they'll survive. I don't think they'll
all I'm going to say is it's very hard to just say, give up money until you're in that position.
Yeah.
No, but how bad do you want to win? How bad do you want to win? Do you want to take a little bit less so that way you can surround yourself with better talent so you have a better chance at winning?
And what happens if it didn't work out the way it worked out and Tom Brady didn't win?
Dave, you're a former player. Would you be able to live with yourself if you were in that position?
Oh my goodness, John! You know how much money I made playing in the NFL. I'm making more doing this for free. So, yeah, I know a lot of players that are willing to restructure contracts for the better of the team. So, but it just goes to, I think it goes to the person. I just have to agree with Jake. You know, he was willing to do that to know that then the team would have cap to be able to bring in the guys to make him win, to play longer, to get more money, to get more endorsements because he was the best that ever was. And so, you know, he's about to make more money in the you know, on screen because of
and the
all the
broadcast
things he did. Yeah, he gave up money, but he's going to get it for the rest of his life. And then there are guys that take a bunch of money, don't have the career, get labeled as, you know, overpaid, underachiever, but, and then as great as they are, they're tainted a little, you know, and nobody wants to listen to them. You know, yeah, you're a money grab.
Because you know what? You have either Aaron Rodgers or Tom Brady. Who would you rather be? If it were up to me, I'd rather be Tom Brady 100 times out of 100.
And as a competitor, Dave, the way I see it is, like, if I'm going to take a little bit less money and it gives me a better chance to win, and I in my career and I don't win a Super Bowl, haven't done that as a quarterback or whatever, I can live with that because as a competitor, I did everything I could to help my team win. And ultimately, you want to win. That's all you care about. You want to get paid, but you're a competitor. You want to win. I'm a competitor in everything I do. I want to win no matter what. Like, so you do everything.
You can say you'll do anything it takes to win. Yeah, giving up money is a big thing.
I was like, giving up money and making space.
That's the biggest thing. Anybody can work out.
But it's not like you're
work out 3 hours a day. Anybody could go to, you know, be the first one at the gym and the last one to leave. Anybody can do. But if you're saying I'll do anything to win, and you're giving up $5 million, $10 million to do that, that's a winner. That's a winner willing to do. Yeah, like
that's
you said,
winning mentality.
But you could take $70 million a year and not win too, and then you really didn't do anything other than take care of yourself.
I wouldn't be able to live with myself as an athlete if I held the team back like that. I wouldn't. Agree. I would want to do everything I can to win. That's just how I'm wired, though.
Yeah. So real quick, we're gonna stop for a quick second. Talk about the combine.
Yeah, we have about 5 minutes. Yeah.
I'm gonna see if JT can pull the clip from Sam Laporte from Iowa. So, you know, Iowa's got this great tradition where every game they wave to the Children's Hospital. Yep. And I had asked Sam about it, you know, trying to think of something different because these guys get asked the same
stuff.
And, you know, it's got to be mind-boggling. So, you know, I love the tradition of Iowa. And I asked him, and he was actually almost in tears. He was so moved by his answer and by the tradition. And I was, you know, so taken back by that, the fact that it actually meant that much to him. I actually have a lot of respect for him. He also had a great combine. He was the third quickest tight end in the 40. Did really well in a whole bunch of other aspects of the testing. You know, another big name out there that had a great combine, Anthony Richardson out of Florida. John, did you happen to notice what he did?
I definitely noticed what he did. Well, whenever it came to running and jumping, everything except actually throwing the football, because when he did that at the combine, he was awful. But everything else, he was great. So at least he has all the physical attributes. Right. He just doesn't know how to throw a football.
All right, so we're gonna go to the clip real quick of Sam, and then after that we'll wrap up.
All right, JT, there you go. Thank you, sir.
Cool moment. Sam, wish I could have scored.
So, Sam, we're going to Iowa. You guys have one of the coolest traditions with the Children's Hospital. What does that mean to you?
Yeah, I don't know if I could really appreciate that until the first time I went into the hospital and met with a kid. It's really special. Until you see that view from the hospital and understand, I'll never be able to understand the position that those kids are in. Those guys are the true warriors, those little boys and girls up there. And I think I've taken that for granted a little bit. You know, every first quarter, we turn and wave. And I remember my first wave. I remember my last one. And, yeah, that's a really special moment in all of college football.
And what are you most excited about?
Yeah, JB, you know, we started off this show talking about a lot of negative stuff about athletes and dumb stuff and, you know, dumb things we're getting caught up in. And then I'm glad we aired that because there's so many great things we do. As a matter of fact, this year at the Super Bowl, we do it every year. It's called Basket of Hope. You know, we pick a children's hospital and they bring. We sat with a bunch of former athletes and we put together 400 baskets of kids to deliver to the hospital and 400 totes to go to the families. And each of those gifts are worth about $300 to $500. And then what we did is, because we couldn't go to the hospital, they had a remote robot that me, Chris Draft, Lonnie, oh gosh, his name's gonna leave me. But we did it manually. We finagled it down the aisle and into the child's room that had the basket right there. It had a monitor on her, and we could see them and interact with them. And so when he was talking, I was getting the chills going. We do so many great things, and to be a part of something like that, I'm glad that we brought that to light.
Just seeing the responses from people that know him on Twitter, because I posted all the clips on Twitter. It's
great.
Been viewed a bunch, and all of his family and friends, nothing but great things to say about him. I'm rooting for the kid. I hope
Me
he
too.
does well.
That's the kind of guy you want on your team, and that's where I'll leave it.
Hey, well, we can't glaze over the combine without highlighting an offensive lineman that had 37-inch vertical.
Whew.
37-inch vertical.
That's pretty good.
That's a record for an old lineman.
That's pretty good.
And guys, you can't take this the wrong way. White dude. Just saying.
Hey, gotcha.
I'm just saying.
White man can't jump.
It was funny. All the offensive linemen were going, why did you have to go? He was like, I think he went first. Nobody wanted to go after him. So. And that's pretty 37-inch vertical when you're, and I don't know what his weight was.
That's pretty good.
He's looking like 290, 300. He wasn't a really overly big guy, but we're all big when you can't play O-line
that's pretty impressive.
In college or NFL if you're not 290 or more. So pretty amazing.
Well, on that note,
hang on one second. Just one last thing. So we're talking about good things that athletes and former athletes do. Dave, tell us about your event real quick coming up.
Hey, the First and Goal Project, my nonprofit. We're hosting a celebrity and veteran golf invitational at Coto de Casa, Orange County, California, raising money for local veteran support programs for veterans that just aren't getting the care that they need from the VA or other programs. And we're also working and supporting MVP, Emerging Vets and Players, Jay Glazier and Nate Boyer. Nate's going to be one of my honorary hosts. Anthony Munoz, an honorary host, Hall of Famer. We've got Hall of Famers playing. We got celebrities, and it's going to be a great time. March 20th. Yep.
Dude, that's amazing.
Can't wait to hear more about it as it gets. Closer.
It's crazy.
I'm looking forward to it, man.
Yeah, we have people flying in from all over the country. We have veterans flying in from all over the country. We have Purple Hearts. We have it's just going to be a great day with our veterans, showing our appreciation, our gratitude, and then having some fun, playing some golf at a beautiful golf course.
Man.
Absolutely.
That's so cool.
So the great thing is we have everything on the bottom, so we're going to wrap quickly because we're a little over time. All our names are on here. You can look for us on all the social medias. Dave doesn't have an ad thing, but it's Dave DeRoche. Dave DeRoche here. You could find him. Come on.
Just look him up.
My name's right there. It's right there.
Exactly.
And more importantly, you can find Dave next Tuesday with more tacos. And
more tacos.
We'll find out what they'll be next week. Don't tell us.
Oh, you guys aren't going to want nothing to deal with these, but they're going to be. I'm going to love them.
All right, hey, they're your tacos, man. You got to enjoy them.
All right.
On that note, everybody have a good one. We'll see you next week.
Peace.